Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
Stories of man-like creatures, or swamp monsters, that inhabit the Everglades and inner swamps of the South have probably existed since man first settled in the bayous and wetlands of Florida thousands of years ago. Other southern states like Louisiana and Georgia also have their own local skunk ape legends. The tribes of the Seminole and of the Miccosukee, who were pushed out of their traditional homelands in Georgia and Alabama into the remote parts and swamps of Florida in the late 1790s, were the last remaining natives in the region. All former native inhabitants of Florida, like the Appalachee or the Tequesta, were nearly completely exterminated or enslaved by their European colonizers and by the diseases the white man brought to the New World. Both tribes, the Seminole and the Miccosukee, have traditions and legends that reach back many centuries. In both cultures, strange stories exist that speak of a tall and foul-smelling, physically powerful and secretive creature, said to inhabit the inner swamps of the region. The Seminole call the beings Esti-Kapkaki, a name which roughly translates to tall and furry man, or hairy giant. Seminole and Miccosukee cultures both describe the Esti-Kapkaki as bipedal, upright walking, hair-covered men who hunt in the swamps and forests, mostly at night. Seminole legend says the Esti-Kapkaki was cannibalistic and sometimes attacked lone wanderers and fishermen. The first reports by white settlers occurred shortly after Europeans began to occupy the region. In 1818, local newspapers reported a story from what is now Apalachicola, Florida, that spoke of a man-sized monkey raiding food stores and stalking fishermen along the shore. Some sources even speak of documented events in Florida that date back as far as the 16th century. In the early 1920s, as the small villages and settlements in southern Florida grew into larger towns, rumors and stories of foul-smelling apes and tall, upright-walking gorillas living in the depths of the Everglades and the swamps began to circulate in the rural areas of Florida. One place that appears to have become a hotspot of skunk ape encounters in the last 2 decades is the Myakka River State Park in Sarasota County. Also, the perhaps most shocking photos of a skunk ape or Bigfoot-like creature ever were taken near the park. The creature in the photos was dubbed the Myakka Skunk Ape. Let's take a closer look at the photos and the story behind them. On December 22nd of 2000, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office received an anonymous letter containing 2 photographs depicting a large, ape-like creature. The author of the letter claimed to be an elderly woman who reported that the creature had been stealing apples from her back porch near Interstate 75. She feared it might be an escaped orangutan that could harm her family. The author of the letter also mentioned that the alleged orangutan made deep whoomp noises and that it had an awful smell that lasted for a while in the backyard. The author stated that the photos were originally shot in late September or early October of 2000. Legend has it that the letter and the photos were passed around in the sheriff's department for a few weeks before a member of the Animal Control Division handed them to Florida Bigfoot researcher and cryptozoologist Loren Coleman, who was the first to scan and reproduce the photos at high quality. Coleman and a fellow researcher named David Barkasy tried to locate the place where the photos were recorded, but were never able to find out who shot or developed the photos. This map shows the possible location, according to Coleman and Barkasy. The Myakka Skunk Ape photos, despite the fact that they are known to the public for more than 20 years, never have been debunked as a hoax. The creature in the photos shows a remarkable change of facial expression between the two images, something which very likely indicates that we are not looking at a costume or a puppet in these photos. Also, the muscles of the arms and shoulders clearly appear to change between the photos, an effect that should be extremely hard to recreate if the photos are a hoax. In the first picture, the muscles appear to be relaxed, while they are visibly flexed in the second photo. As in the Patterson-Gimlin film, the only way to produce such an effect would be to glue hair on a naked body with visible muscle movement. But in both cases, Patty and the Myakka Skunk Ape, the morphology and the anatomical structure of the creatures, eliminate this possibility. Also, the clear details of the mouth and the upper face of the creature make it very unlikely that we are looking at a mask or a dummy in these pictures. Another astonishing detail in the photos is the size of the creature. In its hunched position, the creature appears to be smaller than it likely is. But there is a way to get a better understanding of its size, which could indeed be enormous. When we scroll down to the bottom of the photos, we can see what appears to be a foot. We can see 3 or 4 toes on the foot. We even can see the toenails of the creature. The foot appears to look ape-like and very realistic. So, here is the knee of the creature that is sitting in a hunched position. This here is the lower part of its leg, and here is the foot. That means the creature is extremely tall and huge if it were to stand upright. The author of the original letter estimated the size of the creature from 6.5 to 7 feet tall, in a kneeling position, which sounds pretty wild. But a height of 7.5 feet for the creature, when standing upright, appears to be realistic. In the second picture, we can still see 2 of the toes of the foot, while the creature is about to stand up and pushes itself up from the ground. In this picture, we also can see the toenails clearly. Again, these are astonishing details, when you consider this to be a costume of some sort. All of this, the many realistic details, the change in facial expression, the size of the creature, and the backstory of the photos, make it very likely that we are indeed looking at a real skunk ape in these photos. See the links in the video description for a detailed analysis of the Myakka Skunk Ape photos. But there are also legendary accounts and stories of skunk apes reported in other southern states. Georgia, Louisiana, and Arkansas each have their own local legends of monsters or monkeys inhabiting the swamps and forests of the South. The Honey Island Swamp Monster, which is said to roam the wilderness of rural Louisiana in the swamps of St. Tammany Parish,